Thank you very much, Sir Roger, and it's a privilege to speak in this debate today. When my constituents come to see me and they have made a complaint, we quite often get to the stage where I recommend the Ombudsman to them. And I regularly say to them, have faith. Ombudsmen quite often find in favour of the complainant. Ombudsmen are there for a purpose, and we cannot merely support the institution of an ombudsman when it makes a convenient finding for the government of the day. We have to accept its decisions if we are going to have an ombudsman in place. We all know that trust in politics, trust in politicians, trust in us as MPs is at something of a low point at the moment, no matter what party we are in. Now, I think that's actually very unfair, because I think most people in this House, of all parties, are decent people, doing the best for their constituents and working very hard. So that reduction in trust really worries me. And I think the response of the government and the response of Parliament to this Ombudsman's report is really important, because it touches on this issue of trust in our institutions, which have been through a very difficult time. I will indeed.
I warmly welcome the thrust of my honourable friend's argument, and for the benefit of the record, can I draw his and the House's attention in particular to paragraph 459 of the report, which says in part, for most sample complainants, we consider the primary injustice is that they were denied opportunity to make informed decisions about some things and to do some things differently because of maladministration in DWP's communication about state pension age. That's a material injustice.
Well, I'm grateful to my right honourable friend, and what he said is accurate. He quotes from the report. It was in July 2021 that the Ombudsman found maladministration, and in the report on the 21st of March, they said that had led to an injustice. And like him, I will quote briefly from the report. And the Ombudsman says, talking of the DWP, in 2005 it failed to take adequate account of the need for targeted and individually tailored information. In 2006, DWP proposed writing directly to women individually to let them know their state pension age had changed, but it then failed to act promptly. We found that if DWP had made a reasonable decision about next steps in 2005 and then acted promptly, it would have begun writing to the affected women by December 2006. And indeed, my right honourable friend and other members will have seen in the back of the report there is a table as to what should have happened when. And I too have constituents who have written to me to say that they were really very close to the age of 60. Some had worked all their working lives since the age of 15 or so. They had made all their plans on the basis that they would be able to get their pension at 60, and they literally found out from colleagues in the workplace, sometimes very, very shortly before they thought they were due to retire. I will briefly, probably the last intervention I will make, just taking the heed of Mr Deputy Speaker, of course.
Thank you very much. The point that the honourable gentleman makes is one that rings true with me, because I had the very first constituent who came to me with a problem when I was elected 7 years ago was a WASPI woman, and she had been less than 2 years from retirement when she learned by accident of this change. So 7 years on, she's no better off. She's much worse off in a lot of ways. And actually a lot of women who are not WASPI women are now wondering if actually they know the truth about when they'll get their pension. So does he agree with me that although it's fundamentally about the WASPI women, it is about trust and women having trust in this institution?
I agree with the honourable lady, and I think this issue of trust is really, really important, and one that this House should not take lightly. Now, in my South West Bedfordshire constituency, it's estimated there are 6,000 women in this situation. The cost of the compensation recommended by the Ombudsman at level 4 at the lower level would be £6 million, at the upper level would be £17.7 million. If we extrapolate that nationally across the UK, I think that's 3.9 billion for the lower end and 11.5 billion at the upper end. And we have, again, to be honest, and I do believe in honesty in politics, these are large sums. And they are also large sums when you add the amount we're going to have to pay for the postmasters and mistresses, for whom we are also all campaigning. When we are going to add up the sums for the victims of the infected blood scandal, for whom most of us are also campaigning, and Equitable Life and other campaigns that do not immediately. I will, as it's the Honourable Lady, but it really will be the last intervention because I
just want to make a brief point. I thank the gentleman for giving way. He's talking about how the bill is mounting for all these compensation schemes. Does that not merely underline the importance of competent government?
Well, of course it's best if government gets these things right, but I would say that government is difficult and governments of all parties are going to make mistakes because they are human. But I'm actually making a different point about honesty with the overall government finances, because when I was taught economics a long time ago, I was taught the notion of opportunity cost. In other words, you can only spend the same pound once, and if we are going to spend billions on this, then we have to be honest about what other things we cannot spend money on, things that those WASPI women themselves may very much want, or what other services we're going to have to cut, or what other taxes are we going to have to raise. So I have tried to find out from the Commons Library how the Treasury Reserve works, how we account nationally for a type of contingency fund to pay out on these issues. And I think we just need a bit of honesty here as a Parliament. If we are going to do the right thing by the WASPI women, as I believe we should, and as I want us to, and as I think we should for these other groups, I think we need to look at a dedicated fund in the Treasury reserves for contingencies. Now, that will be of a certain sum, and it may not be large enough, perhaps the nation won't be able to afford it, to spend money out on every cause in the way that we would like. So whilst I absolutely back the justice of the WASPI women, and I think we should honour what the Ombudsman has said, or at least start moving to do that, I do think we need to be honest about the nation's finances and the other calls on the Exchequer. But I finish where I began, and I'm being brief, heeding the Deputy Speaker's injunction. This does come back to trust. You don't just agree with the umpire when it takes a decision that you are in favour of. We have an Ombudsman or we don't, and if it makes a finding, it may be uncomfortable, it may be inconvenient. This is the finding. We should do the right thing.